スララドンバトラにキングギドラヘドラエビラメガロとメカゴジラモゲラマンダガイドンアンキロスガバラバランスペースゴジラが街にやってきたぞ。
Hello everyone, I'm Jax the reviewer, you're the audience, and this is my Godzilla retrospective. And today we'll be looking at 1964's Godzilla vs King Ghidorah, or Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster if you're looking at the American cut. That's right, he goes by both names Ghidorah and Ghidorah, so I might have to vary, but for today we'll be looking at the American cut of this film, so I'll refer to him as Ghidorah. An interesting fact about this film is that it came out the same year as the last one, Mafra vs Godzilla, and so we see the suit reused in this film, just with a different head. As well as this, we see the return of Ishiro Honda doing the directing, and Akira Ifukube doing the score. Even if the American cut has a lot of his songs removed, it's still nice to see him return for this piece as well. With a recent renaissance in Godzilla films, with each one getting better and better in this franchise, it's time to look at what may be an even bigger film, as we are introduced to his arch enemy, King Ghidorah. So, without further ado, let's dig straight into Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster. Starting off, we are shown credits laid over shots from later in this film, and it's an exciting intro that gets you pumped to see some amazing kaiju action. Though after watching the film, you suddenly realise this is just there to remind you that it is indeed a kaiju film. As after these credits, it won't be until 36 minutes in that we'll see Godzilla, and not until 48 minutes in that we will see Ghidorah, the titular creature. We are introduced to a group of scientists who are eagerly looking forward to seeing UFOs. However, when no UFOs show up, they blame this on reporter Naoko Shindo, claiming that as a non-believer, she's driven them away. Although personally I can't see the link between not believing in UFOs and them not showing up. Out in the distance, a meteor crashes into a mountain range, but no time for that as we cut to our next protagonist, Detective Shindo, Naoko's brother. And maybe it's just me, but I get some weird vibes from this brother and sister.
I want to hear the news.
Oh, that's Mother's favorite program. It's amusing too. Go on, Shindo.
Hey, get off.
Do something to please your mother.
Detective Shindo has been assigned as bodyguard to Princess Selina Sauno of Saugina.
Christ, who wrote this?
The princess is travelling to Japan, but is at risk of an assassination plot to seize control of her country. Yeah, this isn't elaborated on very much, we just know some guy wants to take control of her country, so just roll with it I guess. It's also quite a strange storyline to go with in a kaiju film. We've had nothing like this in the Godzilla franchise up until this point, and it's refreshing to see something new. I was getting quite tired of the typical 2 men, 1 woman, whole scenario. It's time for some refreshing new stuff, and this is giving me what I need. As the meteor crashes, the princess is warned by a mysterious voice that she must leave the plane. And as she leaves, an assassin's bomb blows up the plane, with her escaping safely. She then shows up again, but dressed in a poor man's clothes, claiming to be from Mars. Interestingly enough, in the Japanese cut, she claims to be from Venus, not Mars, but in the American cut, they changed it to Mars. So I guess it's true what they say. Men are from Mars, women are from Mars. Investigating the meteorite is Professor Murai, not to be confused with Professor Mayura from the last film. He finds that the meteorite is magnetic and grows progressively larger each time a kaiju awakens. On the television, 2 men introduce a boy to the Mafra Twins, with the same twins reprising their role after previously being in the Mafra movie and Mafra vs Godzilla. We are told that the old lava from the last film has taken up the mantle of Mafra, and then in the American dub they refer to Mafra as a male in this, and never mind the fact that in the last film there were 2 lavas, not 1. This film came out the same year as the last one. How did they mess up the canon already? As the assassin lands in Japan, it becomes a race between Detective Shindo and the assassin to get to the princess. The princess predicts that an ancient volcano will erupt, and just as she says that, it in fact does, with Rodin flying from the ashes. As he comes from the volcano, Rodin actually does Godzilla's roar, which is a reminder that we are a third of the way into the film and we still haven't seen Godzilla. As people flee the scene, the footage is nowhere near as effective as prior films. It has this glaring sped up effect that just makes it look cheesy rather than create tension. Still, it's amazing seeing Rodin. This franchise seems to do a great job of never introducing kaiju that look similar. That way it's always fresh and really exciting. Just like Mafra was, Rodin comes from his own solo film, so it's interesting to see another crossover in this franchise. Naoko takes the princess to a hotel room, which coincidentally is the same one that the assassin is at. But he is shocked to find that the princess doesn't recognise him. It's as if she's really a Martian. And on that note, it's important to say that the actress who's dubbing the Martian is doing a terrible job. She's just so bland and monotone. I understand that that's to make her seem more alien, but really it kills what could have been an interesting character with some charisma to it.
Goodbye now, and thanks a lot.
This ship must not sail. I warn you. It must not sail today.
There she is.
The Martian. No. What do I have to do to make you understand the danger that you are in? You will all die if the boat sails today.
Look here, why don't you come with me?
Why? Who are you?
That night the assassin attempts to kill the princess, but luckily Detective Shindo shows up in time to scare them away. Finally, Godzilla erupts from the deep and is ready to fight as he destroys a ship. It is glorious to hear his classic theme play again, and he soon unleashes havoc on a town. The effects are amazing, and it is taken a lot more seriously, like a return to classic Godzilla, which reinstates my hope after that strange bit earlier on. All of this carnage finally fuels Ghidorah, who emerges from the meteor like a phoenix. The imagery is glorious, and he's definitely the coolest kaiju in the franchise so far. Coming from an alien world is only a portion of his backstory. You see, his design is based on an ancient Japanese 8-headed dragon named Yamata no Orochi. As well as this, he's actually portrayed by the same actor who played King Kong in King Kong vs. Godzilla. However, in the actual canon of this film, his backstory is a little more generic, but it does the job.
Centuries ago, the monster appeared in the skies of Mars. Within a month, the culture of Mars had been wiped out completely. The civilization on my planet had reached a stage of development which you people will not achieve for a long time. Centuries, at least. Today, because of the space monster, it is a dead world, dead and unpopulated.
I also love how Ghidorah creates such a panic among the people of Japan, like this large evacuation that takes place. With such a small looming object in the sky, it creates serious tension. You actually get a sense that Ghidorah is a big threat to be dealt with. King Kong's introduction was that he was drugged and easily captured by the humans. Mothra's introduction was that she was there to help out the humans. This is a terrifying introduction when you compare it to those ones. However, the pagoda scene in this film is extremely weak, especially compared to some of the great ones we've had before. I'll show you it in its entirety and let you be the judge. That was garbage. Finally the action kicks into gear. Godzilla and Rodin have a brawl, and it looks pretty amazing. The background miniatures are a nice touch, and really create this sense of scale. And who doesn't like seeing two goofy looking kaiju fight it out? Speaking of miniatures, the props department outdid themselves. These miniatures are insanely detailed, and you could argue they're highly believable. It definitely works in favour of the fight scenes. It's revealed that whilst the Martians died out, some escaped to Earth. Over a millennia, they slowly adapted into becoming normal human beings. The only difference now between the ancestors of the Martians and the humans is that the Martian can see the future. This explains the little voice that was in the princess's head that told her to get off the plane before the bomb went off. It was her secret Martian powers.
Christ, who wrote this?
Yet again, the assassins attempt to kill the princess in what is such a thrilling action sequence. But that is definitely nothing compared to the action that's going on with the kaiju. The fighting is some of the best we've seen in this franchise. In what's a striking growth in the mythos, the three kaiju sit down and have a chat. It's all translated by the twins, but you can hear the kaiju communicate through grunts and noises. It's revealed that Godzilla is a lighter character, only disliking humans because they attacked him first.
Godzilla, what terrible language!
Eventually they all agree to team up to fight Ghidorah. The princess reaches what is probably a reused set from King Kong vs. Godzilla, and for some unexplained reason she calls to God to stop Ghidorah. Even though she's a Martian, so why she'd believe in God is anyone's guess. The assassin makes a final attempt on her life, but she falls, damaging her brain, but in the process, recovering her memories as a princess. And after this, an earthquake brought on by the fighting crushes the assassin, saving the detective and the princess. The fighting between each of the three kaiju is really interesting, with each using their unique skill set, and it's definitely the most comedic fight we've had so far. Whether that's good or bad is up to personal opinion though. But I have an insane amount of respect for whoever choreographed this fight. I mean, it may not look it, but this is a complex fight. You have a dragon with 3 heads, each head is attached to strings, as well as this it has 2 tails attached to strings, and you have a Mafra lava, and a flying pterodactyl, and a radioactive lizard firing its atomic breath. I mean, this is an insanely detailed fight. Whether it's a bit of a clusterfuck is anyone's opinion, but the point is a lot of work must have gone into arranging all the puppeteering and where everyone had to be at every time. Eventually Ghidorah is defeated and he flies away. The princess moves back to her kingdom, and Rodin and Godzilla say goodbye to Mafra, in what may be the earliest form of Monster Island. So that was Ghidorah the three-headed monster, and what did I think of it? Well, as you can tell, there's probably less jokes in this review than most of my other ones, and that's because it's a pretty dense film, full of exposition and lots of story, which in a way is what I've always wanted, but drags the film down in some of its boredom. With so many plots, this film is actually hard to keep track of, and it's in a way a negative version of Mafra vs. Godzilla. That film had a similar structure with a very human first half of the film, but that was still a comfortable watch. The human parts moved briskly, whilst it was tiring to see the same formula used of 2 men and a woman. It at least works and it's tried and tested. This film was the opposite. It experimented, but it resulted in too much exposition and a formula that in the right hands could have worked, but fails here. What should have been an exciting all-out monster brawl is instead slow and overwritten. With the speed this film had to be made, coming out the same year as the last film, I wouldn't be shocked to find out that this was a reused script for something completely different, and then Godzilla was thrown into the mix so that they could sort of add marquee value to this film. This film isn't terrible. In fact, I respect it for experimenting with the formula. It has a new formula, it added the idea that Godzilla could be a hero character, and it added aliens into the mix, who will become a bigger part in the next film. So I respect that we're going somewhere different with the Godzilla franchise. I just feel this could have been handled slightly differently and in a better way. King Ghidorah is an amazing kaiju, and I've even come to love Mafra, a kaiju that I thought was just ridiculous before I'd seen these films. I mean, yeah, she is still ridiculous, but she's entertainingly ridiculous. But I'd only be recommending half of this film if I did recommend it, and so for that, I have to give this film 5 flying hats out of 10. In a film that is so derived of enjoyment, how am I supposed to find a weirdest moment of the week? Well, there is a change of pace at one point where Godzilla fights Rodin, and in it he just bursts out laughing at Rodin. I think that part wins for this week, as it's such a weird change of pace. It's a key sign that Godzilla is changing as a character. He's definitely not this metaphor for atomic war that he used to be in the darker films. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you all in my next review, where I review Godzilla vs. the Astro Monster. If you liked seeing aliens in Godzilla, then you'll love that film. And if you didn't like seeing aliens in the Godzilla franchise, then maybe you'll love the fact that the Zillions have these for their effects. Thank you all for watching. See you next time.
As one of the peoples of space,
Are you a boy or a girl? Why don't you do striptease for us?